story that we are tracking for us. Now, another big story we're looking ahead at this morning is the Job Summit. Now, today is the eve of that two-day Job Summit. It will bring industry players together to discuss South Africa's stubbornly high unemployment rate. While this discussion goes on, pupils are choosing future career paths. They must keep the ever-changing job market in mind, of course. Industry pundits say technology will soon render most jobs redundant. We're also hearing about the fourth industrial revolution. What does this all mean? What does a future career look like? What's a job going into the future? Well, to help us understand this and share with us some insights, we're joined here in the studio by trends expert Dion Chang from Flux Trends. Dion, good morning. It's also
morning, Dan.
Good to see you.
Excuse me.
It's been quite some time since we last spoke. Now, earlier we spoke to another marketing strategist. We're talking about the way we've been knowing how to work in the working place is changing, you know? And South Africa is battling with a high unemployment rate. We have many graduates who qualify, they can't get jobs. We have people with the matric certificates, they can't get anywhere.
Yes.
Now, what does the future really look like in terms of careers?
Okay, so everything has changed. We understand that. Every single business understands that they're being disrupted as well. So what we do at Flux is we work backwards almost from the future. So we look at where the future trajectory of businesses are going, how businesses are changing and forming. So if you even look at the way corporate businesses are structured, that's a 20th century business. It was not designed for the 21st century or for knowledge workers. So if you even look at that, corporate silos, corporate hierarchies, all of those things need to change for those companies to be innovative. In order for workers to fit into that means that you need almost hybrid skills. You don't need that singular linear career pathing. You don't need a specific skill set that only is ideally for one silo or anything like that. So you need a very, very different way of looking at things. You know, in South Africa, we obviously live in a dual economy. We've got very, very complex problems. We have got this high unemployment rate, catastrophic high unemployment rate. We have an education system that is not only unsuitable for the 21st century, but it is not really working in its current state. So there's a lot of problems to fix. So you ask the question, so how far do you go back to fix that? And you actually look at the whole schooling system. We don't have the time to do that. We have to fix this really quickly and efficiently.
We have to make it up as we go along, so
exactly,
to speak.
And that is basically how businesses are running. So the big scare tactic, if I may call it that, is everyone says yes, the fourth industrial revolution. Yes, it is going to take jobs because you're already starting to see that. If you look at the travel industry, if you look at airports, all of those things, the automation is working at a frightening speed. So where there were 15 people behind a counter, there are now 3 people just telling you how to do it yourself. So that's a very real thing. So there's a parallel conversation about a displacement economy when you're talking about automation and machines, but how do you displace those workers? And then how do we even talk about displacement when we don't even have those workers in jobs
because
already?
When you mention displacement, then trade unions will say, but can't we reskill? Instead of displacing them, shouldn't we be reskilling the current workforce?
We should be reskilling, and that's why I think this is a very, very difficult conversation, but a necessary one to have. So we're looking at a young emerging workforce, young people who have possibly gone through tertiary education, especially in South Africa. We have a whole generation who are the first members of those families who have managed to get those degrees. Are those degrees worth what they've worked for and saved for is another question, a long debate about that. But then you also have an existing workforce that needs to be upskilled. So there's a dual upskilling role that we need to
Are you picking up trends that if the skills that are currently taught or the curriculums that are currently designed at tertiary institutions are not aligned appropriately with what the business needs are or industry needs, shouldn't the universities and colleges be changing their curriculum and start teaching people practically what is required?
Exactly. So we're seeing a bigger disconnect and a wider and wider gap within that skills requirement to go into not only current businesses, but just what the nature of the quick changing nature of the businesses really are. So it's a very interesting thing. You know, I read a lot of stuff from Malcolm Gladwell, and he said, what is the expert of the future? And it was an interesting one. He said it's not a puzzle solver. A puzzle solver goes about getting a lot of information and trying to solve that puzzle. He says what we need are mystery solvers. So people who understand the complexity and because we don't need to collect more information. We've got all that information there. We need to decipher it. So the soft skills are more needed.
I was about to say, you're going to have to know how to collaborate better.
Yes.
Your interpersonal skills are going to have to come in very handy.
Teamwork, collaboration, so EQ versus IQ is a big
and
one.
Before I let you go, Dion, one of my colleagues said you must ask Dion about the trends about AI. We also hear about artificial intelligence. I mean, in the future, my job here reading the news might be taken over by an AI entity.
Well, the robotics and stuff, it's hurtling very, very far forward. But I think the more we go into a digitized world, or transhumanism, where humanity and technology fuse together, the more we need that human part. So if you look to, say, for example, the travel and hospitality industry, your back end needs to be totally high tech. So you need different skills, different training. So even in that industry, they are not poaching talent from hospitality schools or hotel schools. They're going to the best IT companies to get the talent to run those hotels or booking systems. But the front end, because it's hospitality, still needs a human interaction. You still need somebody who's smiling and welcoming you to the hotel. So the concept and the terminology they use there is split technology. So we need to split that up. But I think the most important thing, the most frequently asked question I get, especially from parents, is what must my children study?
What should they study?
What should they study? And I say, firstly, do not push them into an academic career path at 18. Wait till 21. That's when the human brain actually settles into adult mode of thinking. And if you look at countries like Germany, where there's the lowest youth unemployment rate, what they do from grade 12 is start putting people into apprenticeships to let them test holiday jobs, that thing, in America it's like a summer job. You do those kind of things. You do short courses. You test a whole lot of things instead of the parents investing in a 4-year degree that may not be what that learner wants to do in the first place. So for me, it's travel, short courses, apprenticeships, lots of little nibbling and tasting, and you find a career path within that.
Basically, don't just chase a degree for the sake of getting a degree. It needs to work for you so you can earn a living and add value to the economy.
So for all the parents who are out there who are saying we need that backup, there are other backups that are in place that you don't see now. Yeah, they're kind of blind spots, and that's why I'm saying you need to enter different industries and companies to see what the opportunities are and understand what you do and don't want to do, which is a much better way of saying this is what I think I'm going to do and have a long trajectory.
So adopt a multi-pronged portfolio type approach into the future.
Because your skills are going to be hybrid.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thanks.
Dion Cheng, the trends analyst, just ahead, of course, of that job summit starting tomorrow. It's going to be for 2 days here in the country. Very important summit, talking about the trends going into the future and how should we prepare our young ones who are thinking about their careers into the future. Okay, now let's bring you more on our top story. The state capture inquiry is continuing in Johannesburg today. Finance Minister